Netherlands. On December 17, 2010, Matios reported that the offices of Pyramida Publishers in Lviv were searched by members of the Ukrainian Ministry of Internal Affairs, who tried to remove copies of her autobiography from circulation. The essence of the complaint against her book was the fact that she called the gigantic titanium sword-wielding statue of the woman defender of the motherland in Kyiv a giant phallus. Her comments apparently irked some Soviet Army veterans of the Great Patriotic War, World War II, who made charges of defamation to the authoritarian Yanukovych government. Matios indignantly reacted to the illegal search with an open letter to the General Procurator of Ukraine. Apologies were extended to her, and there were no further repercussions. Matios currently resides in the capital city of Kyiv in Ukraine, where, after the most recent free parliamentary elections that swept out the remains of the repressive Yanukovych regime, she is serving a second term as a deputy. Sweet Darusya is a text with a great amount of texture and layers. The post-colonial masterpiece is an engaging character portrayal in the microcosmic world of a small village in Bukovina. The villagers of Sweet Darusya speak the local Bukovinian dialect, which Matios extensively glosses with endnotes in the Ukrainian editions of the novel. While Matios's writing style is rich and complex, it is still quite accessible to the refined Ukrainian reader. Significantly, instead of disavowing rural stereotypes in her works, she revels in the unique individuality of her ancestral villagers and shows their humanity as well as the psychological depth of their lives. As though she were unpeeling an onion, Matios constructs her unique narrative in layers and in reverse chronological order. The primary narrator is a highly articulate one and close in sensibility to the omniscient author, though clearly an insider from that culture with an intrinsically deep understanding of it. On a second narrative layer, two village women, one older and one younger, whose conversations are presented as asides, provide commentary on the events happening in the novel. They are local women of the Gazda class, successful independent farmers, whose colorful language and commentary accompanying the events in the novel provide both a folksy philosophical depth and sometimes comic relief. This type of narration recalls Ukrainian writer Nikolai Gogol's narrator Rudy Penko from his collection of stories Evenings on a Farm near Dikanka, which Boris Eichenbaum has described as sagas. According to Nina Kolins-Niskov, in the Encyclopedia of Contemporary Literary Theory, Eichenbaum defined this kind of narration as a special type of discourse oriented in its lexicon, syntax, and intonation toward the oral speech of the narrator. At the third level of narration, one finds the actual characters interacting with each other in their own unique voices. These three narrative levels intertwine to tell the story of Sweet Darusya and her family in reverse chronological order, with the time period closest to the present presented first, approximately in the 1960s. Then the love relationship between Sweet Darusya and Ivan Savichuk that occurs prior to that time in the late 1940s and early 1950s. And, finally, the love relationship between Darusya's mother and father, as well as Darusya's childhood in the 1930s and early 1940s. The reasons for this altered chronological order will become eminently clear to the reader upon completion of the novel. Not one to spoil the reader's anticipation, I leave that for the reader to discover. This kind of chronologically altered narrative has one of its most famous Slavic literary antecedents in Mikhail Lermontov's novel, A Hero of Our Time, in which the reader comes to understand the psychological motivation of the hero Pechorian from earlier.